What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Source ADV. I'm Mark Jackson. I've got the 2017 KTM 500EXC. This is the ultra lightweight adventure bike build that I'm doing. But in this particular video, I wanted to talk about just the performance upgrades that I've installed, and you can see those videos on how to install this pipe, how to install a JD power tuner, and how to install a reedless air intake boot. And I did not do a video on anything on the emissions side of the bike, but I may or may not have pulled some of that too. I've had 2 days on this bike since installing, 2 full riding days since installing these power upgrades. So I got a pretty good sense of how it's running. And overall, I'm just thrilled. It is a totally different bike. It is great. I will say that the 2 places that I've been riding, because it's still kind of snowing cold here in Colorado, were more flat, more wide open-ish, not super chuggy kind of single track stuff that we ride sometimes around here. But I did do a bunch of slow riding with the bike too to see how it chugs, and it was doing great. So yeah, I did a day at IMI Motorsports Complex and rode their ATV track because everything else was super muddy and disgusting. And then I did a day down in Fountain, Colorado at a private track down there that you can pay $10 to ride or whatever. That was great too.
All right, you want to rip it?
Let's do it. Let's go over 5 different things that I saw big improvements in the bike after doing the pipe, the tuner, and the reedless air intake boot. But it probably has more to do with just the pipe and the tuner itself. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But the first thing that I noticed is that this bike starts so much easier. It just, in the past, with the stock pipe, I'd always have to use this cold start lever, and it's very conveniently located directly next to the header pipe, and mine for some reason had stopped popping down when you should be able to roll the throttle forward and it'll pop it back down. So I'd have to manually go down there and press the lever down with my hand, and would typically end up burning one of my fingers or some part of my hand, which is never fun. So I did notice that starting the bike with the power tuner, and this was definitely a function of the power tuner, not the pipe, but starting the bike after the install of the power tuner has been way easier. So I'll show you that right now. The cold start lever is not on, and it is roughly mid-50s in this garage, and it was pretty cold last night. So this is a cold bike, and it's got a lithium-ion battery, as you know, if you'd watched any other videos where I'm jumping it because it's so cold here in Colorado. But yeah, let's show you how easy it is to start this bike now. So I'm going to try it first with no throttle and see what happens. Super easy, starts right up, idles great. It's not really sounding remotely like it's struggling to run, which is great. Yeah. So that smile on my face is number 2. The sound of the bike is just so much better, as you can imagine, right? That's guilty here. I'm totally guilty of liking the bark of a 4-stroke bike and really despised how the stock bike sounded. Granted, that's all within reason, right? I had a 2017 450EXC-f that was totally open from the factory. You know, it's more of a close course competition bike, and you know, that thing was a little bit too loud. So I kept the quiet insert and the spark arrestor in this one, and it is perfect for me. It has the bark, it gets you going, you know, it's fun to, but this is also a plated bike, so I wanted to keep it a little bit quieter. So for me, the FMF Pipe with the quiet insert is the perfect balance. And also, I want to note that this is the same FMF pipe that I installed. It just does not have the blue sticker on it anymore. I took off the blue sticker. I wanted to keep it a little bit more factory looking, not like factory as in factory motocross teams, but just a little bit less loud looking. You know, this is a plated bike, like I just said, you know, not showing off the FMF pipe, which is pretty loud visually, is probably a good thing for, you know, connecting trails and riding around in towns and that sort of thing. So yeah, the sound is amazing. It's just, it sounds exactly like you want it to. It's not, with the insert, it's not too barky, it's not too, you know, it doesn't make your ears ring or anything like that, but it does sound a ton better. So that's number 2. The third thing, the power on the bike. I've been holding out on this one, saying this one first, but it is just awesome. The power on the bike is so much better. The mid-range and top end are just, you know, it finally just revs itself right out. Myself bouncing off the rev limiter a few times, which wouldn't really happen as much on the stock with a stock bike. You know, it really will get up there real quick if you need it. But the really cool thing about the power on the bike is that it did not lose that linear 500EXC power. It wasn't like my 17 450EXC-f that would just come on so hot. The power would just, you know, hockey stick curve, and almost, and sometimes out here in Colorado on this, we have very like powder puffy, rocky, loose single track in a lot of places. You know, sometimes the power was just way too much. I can't imagine too many guys who are out there would really be able to use the 450EXC-f to its potential, to its maximum potential here in Colorado. I mean, I would keep the thing in the second mat with traction control on a fair amount, because honestly, there was so much power in this super loose, puffy stuff that we have here that like the thing would just kick its tail out. And that didn't happen on this. I was actually a little bit worried that it would turn the power band into like a little bit too light switchy, right? Like to more of a, you know, on-off power band, but it didn't. It's perfectly linear still. It just has a lot more power in the mid-range and the top end, and it just seems to chug better in the low end too. It still idles great. It seems to idle way better than it did before. I don't feel any of those, that like flame out vibe or stalling vibe that it had before. It'll still just chug right along. So that's great. All right, so the fourth cool thing about these power upgrades that I noticed is, I don't really know how to quantify this, but the bike just seems to be running way better, right? You know, like the stock bike, when you really push it, you'd almost get this hot feeling off the engine. And I really wish I'd done like an infrared sensor, like a temperature sensor on the bike with the stock gear versus this, like on testing the header pipe to see what the temperature was there. But it just seems to be running cooler. It seems to be, you know, I've got a temperature sensor here. It's running right where it should the whole time. I noticed that the fan didn't kick on as much when I was chugging it around after really beating it up. It just runs better. It idles better. It starts better. It just, you know, it was completely choked up, and now it's open and it's free. It's living its best life, as one might say. Now it just runs. It's a totally different bike. It runs so much better. There's no downside that I noticed to putting these mods on yet. I don't notice anything. I didn't notice anything being lost. There is a really kind of good KTM tuner, I believe his name's Taco Moto, that did say that if you were to be doing like really slow, chuggy, super tight single track, you know, hard enduro style single track, to actually leave the reeds in. That because of the cam profile on this 500EXC, it's a very high lift cam, that the reeds actually help the thing keep running when it's in very, very low RPMs. So something to look into if you're planning on riding this bike in, hard enduro style. But for me, this thing, we don't ride hard enduro with this bike here in Colorado. This is more of a, like I said, it's more of an ultralight adventure bike. We've got the luggage in the back, and the rally fairing's coming on soon. But I will still ride it on a lot of single track too. So I think the mods are perfect for the type of riding I do, which is like, on the single track, second to third gear type stuff, flowy, and then, I'll be doing some trips on this too. So fourth thing, right, it just feels like it's running better. I can't really tell exactly how that is, but the smells, the heat coming off the bike, it just feels like it's running better. Even the smell of the exhaust itself, you can smell that there's more fuel in the exhaust. It doesn't have that kind of same hot, lean smell. So that's really cool. And I gotta think that over time will lead to more longevity of the bike, despite the fact that now that it's super fun, you wanna just wring it out a lot more. So that's cool. And the fifth and final thing that is worth mentioning once again is the weight savings. You don't exactly notice it while you're riding, but you know that you shaved, around a pound from the muffler and another half pound ish from the reeds, probably actually more like a quarter pound. And then anything else you pulled in the emissions, I believe, is another pound. So once again, just decreasing the weight of this bike. I mean, it's not a big deal for me, right? I got this huge tank on it now and aluminum handguards, but at the end of the day, making the bikes lighter is always a great thing, right? So that was really cool too. I hope you found this video informative. Keep following the progress. The next really cool thing is that Nomad rally fairing, which is going to be really fun. I'm going to start it here today, actually. I've got a table to lay out all the parts and all like that. Yeah, please subscribe to our channel. You can follow the build of this bike. What's left is putting the rally fairing and lighting system in, installing the GPS and all the accessories. And then the final thing is a new set of wheels so I can have enduro wheels and then adventure wheels that have a cush drive in the rear too. But yeah, we're getting close. This bike build is almost what I would consider complete. But we'll keep doing a bunch of videos on maybe picking up a 300XCW pretty soon too. So I'll keep doing videos on prepping those bikes and some of the rides here in Colorado and what you can do with them. So yeah, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for tuning in to Source ADV. Keep the rubber side down, ride safe, enjoy the outdoors, and we'll tune in soon. Take care.